Good evening, everybody. Andy Pedrowski with Special Effects Academy on the start of the week session in the Forex trading room for November 11th, 2018. Happy Veterans Day. A lot of respect for the veterans out there. If anybody are listening, and if they're not, still a lot of respect out there. We're very Armed Forces supportive here at Special Effects Academy. With that said, we are going to kick off our start of the week, again, November 11th of 2018, the Forex Weekly Outlook. We're going to be covering our usual agenda, the prior week, currency strength meter, fundamental announcements, analysis of the major pairs, any setups in progress, and a few parting words. We're going to start out with the long-term ledgers. We had a reasonably busy week. We got some long-term signals here and there. We haven't really had a long-term trade that's panned out in a while. We've been taking profit in small amounts and obviously taking losses as well. We did have a very small, small drawdown this week on the long-term account, a couple of percentage points, nothing major. We do have some open trades that are carrying profit right now, in particular, that pound Swiss trade at the bottom of the screen that is still open. It really kicked into high gear on the market open this week, so it's already carrying a nice chunk of profit. I don't think I've adjusted the stop loss on that one yet, but I will take a look at it and start taking some protective measures. Other trades that are carrying profit, actually I forget which one. There's at least one other carrying profit. I know that USD Swiss and the other USD trade, which one is it? USD JPY. Those are carrying a very small loss between the two of them. The Swiss has been turning around. So all in all, it was a flat week on the long-term trades. And the only good thing, which we'll see as we get to the calendar, is the fundamentals. We've had 2 weeks of straight high-impact fundamentals. This week is a quiet one, so we should be able to get back into some of the technical trading. So that's the long-term ledger. Moving on to the short-term. We finally took a trade on the short-term account, and we left it open over the weekend. So that Aussie dollar short is still open and is carrying profit, and the trailing stop is kicked in because I've been getting the alert. So it's now at better than break even by a very small amount and still moving in our favor. Additionally, and not shown on the screen because it happened only a few minutes ago, we did get triggered into another short-term trade on the Kiwi dollar, also a short, as it hit our pending entry. So that one will be reflected in the ledger once we publish it for this week. So we've got those two trades open. Aussie dollar and Kiwi dollar both short at this time, each of them for a quarter of a lot on the short-term account. Notes and opportunity for improvement, not a whole lot. As I mentioned, we did take one short-term trade on this firmly fundamental week that just ended, which is carrying profit. And we had that small drawdown on the long term, so not really a whole lot going on. And trades remaining open on the short-term account, of course, that Aussie dollar short that we just saw. Moving on to the relative strength meter for this week and the week prior. So the week that just ended, we can see that volatility increased. So volatility went up from 2.74 from the week prior all the way up to 4.37. So about a 1.5 percentage point increase. We can see that the Aussie had a relatively decent week, not as strong as the week before, but still very good. It gained ground against everybody except the Kiwi. We had the CAD losing ground to everybody. So the CAD was a clear loser again. I don't have a clear explanation as to why that's happening. I'm intensely curious. For one, oil prices have taken a hit, but that alone does not explain why the CAD, even when oil prices were rising, didn't rise accordingly. So there's something underlying there, lack of confidence in the Canadian dollar, or what have you. But anyway, the CAD is not having a good end of year. The Swiss managed to regain some ground against pretty much everybody except the Kiwi, the Aussie, and the dollar. In particular, it's gaining ground against the pound, and we are in a short pound Swiss trade, which is working wonderfully right now for us. Euro lost ground against everybody except the CAD, so that was another clear loser for the weekend. We did see a lot of euro weakness come back to the market in the last couple of weeks, as we'll see when we look at the charts. The pound had a fairly decent start of the week. It continued to gain ground against everybody, but towards the end of the week, it suffered a setback. So it looks like a little bit of a weakness has come back into the market as regards to pound. We traded the pound up. We've actually been trading the pound up successfully for the last 2 or 3 weeks. This week, we finally entered a trade against the pound with that pound Swiss I mentioned, which is carrying profit. But at the beginning of the week, we cleared profit on several pound strength trades. So the pound has been treating us well in both directions. You just have to keep a close eye on it. It does shift, and when it shifts, you better be ready for that. The yen has had a bit of a troublesome couple of weeks. The week prior, the yen was the overall loser for the week. This week, that just ended, it did gain ground against the euro and the CAD and continue to lose ground against everybody else. It's still not out of the woods, but you can see that the Europeans are already starting to move money into the yen. The euro was one of those few currencies, one of 2 currencies where the yen actually outperformed. So that's a clear explanation as to why that happened. Kiwi, overall winner. But again, at the start of the week, we just got triggered on a short entry on the Kiwi dollar. So that seems to be ending. It had a good couple of weeks, as did the Aussie, and it looks like the winds in the market are shifting. Last but not least, the dollar. The dollar gained ground against everybody last week except the Kiwi and the Aussie. And again, it looks like those two are coming back with a vengeance in the other direction. So we're carrying profit on both of those short trades right now. Silver had one of its worst weeks in recent history. You can see how deeply red that red color is on the silver bar, XAG bar. So it did lose quite a lot of ground, multiple percentage points. Silver dropped against everybody else. And gold had a drop, not as steep as the silver drop, but still gold lost ground against everybody except silver this week that just ended. So the bullion market is a little bit depressed. We don't trade bullion here, or at least I should say, I don't trade bullion here. Callum does. Callum does trade the gold and silver markets. The reason I don't trade bullion is because I am in the US. We do not get good leverage on bullion trades. I would have to do a 1-to-1. So if I'm going to trade $5,000 of gold, I would need to have $5,000 in my account. Callum is not in the US. He actually gets 10-to-1 leverage on bullion. So he can trade $5,000 in gold with $500 in his account. That makes all the difference. I will not trade bullion in the market. I trade it, actually, I buy bullion and store it myself. So that is my, I guess, my storage of wealth, in which I don't want to have in cash. Anybody who has money, who has savings in cash is just asking for trouble. So my savings are in either bullion or real estate. If I don't have enough for another rental property, I tend to keep it in gold and silver until I need to actually convert it back into money to buy a property. So that's my strategy with gold and silver. So right now I am buying gold and silver in decent amounts simply because the price is so attractive. But I'm not actively trading them, as you may see Callum doing. Moving on to the fundamentals for this week. As I mentioned, we have a pretty light calendar. No interest rate decisions, no major fundamentals like non-farm payroll. We have average earnings coming out of the UK on Tuesday at 4:30 in the morning Eastern time in the US. On Wednesday, we have some more fundies out of the UK, the CCP and the CPI. coming out of the UK. We have GDP out of the Eurozone, and we have CPI out of the US as well. Later in the evening, we will have the employment numbers coming out of Australia. That may be one to trade. Again, these Austral economies, Australia and New Zealand, are not huge. They're much like Canada, so it's a very low population compared to the U.S. or some of the other major countries, major economies. But still, if they do have some sort of upset, we'll probably see a shift in price. So that is one I will likely trade live. You can expect to see the trading room open on Wednesday around, I'm going to say 7:15. Obviously, that will dovetail into our regular 8 p.m. session, so they'll be combined. The trading room will be open early that evening. I'll make sure that's in the calendar for everybody. Then on Thursday, we have the retail sales coming out of the U.S. This is not something I trade. And on Friday, we have CPI coming out of the Eurozone. That's very early in the morning. It's pretty much when I go to bed. I usually go to bed around 4:30. I might stay up for this one. Actually, I have some appointments on Friday. No, I probably won't trade this one, but I may try and convince Callum to trade it. So I'll discuss this with Callum and see if he wants to open up the trading room for Friday morning to trade the Eurozone CPI. I'll catch the replay. So more news on that to come throughout the week. And with that, we're going to jump into the charts, starting with the euro dollar. And there's the chart. And as you can see, the euro started out gaining ground against the dollar. And you're going to see the same thing happening with the pound when we get to that chart. So the beginning of the week was very good for the euro. And then we had the midterm elections, which were, wishy-washy in the grand scheme of things. Republicans lost the House, gained seats in the Senate, and won a few governorships that weren't expected to flip. Regardless, the dollar did start gaining strength effective on Wednesday and started coming back down and pretty much ended the week where it started. So the dollar erased the losses that it had suffered at the beginning of the week. And I am looking, all things being equal, and watching what the market does as it opens the week, I am looking at probably another test of the bottom of this chart. So I am bearish right now on the euro dollar. Pound dollar, as I said, we're going to see pretty much the same thing. Waiting for my screen to actually move. Okay, there we go. So pound dollar, we can see the exact same thing going on. A great start of week, and then a collapse back to where it had started the week out. So no new ground gained by the pound. It looks like that support there at the top held, resistance, I'm sorry, at the top held. And now we're starting to look at a nice little bearish move. If this continues to play out towards the bottom, we've got a really, really good opportunity to pick up some pips. We're already short on the pound Swiss. We'll get to that chart later. But it is starting to look as if the pound may have played itself out and is going to be making a new trip towards the bottom. Too soon to tell. Again, have to see how the week opens. We'll be keeping an eye on that. USD JPY, the yen continues to depreciate against the dollar. So we saw it. It didn't make a new high. It's still a little bit below the high it made back in September. But it is moving in that direction, except for Friday. Friday, it took a breather and backslid. But this is still a very bullish chart. We are short. We tried to pick up as it went back towards the cloud. And I'm going to be keeping that trade open, because regardless, it is very near resistance there at the top. And there are a lot of global events happening that tell me that money may be flowing into the yen in the next few weeks. So I would rather be short on this one for the time being, but we'll see how that plays out. USD Canadian, my inexplicable pair. This pair, all things being equal, should be heading down. It's heading up. I'm not trading it right now. I made money and lost money in both directions. So pretty flat on our USD CAD trades in the last month or so. This one is definitely heading towards the top and is probably going to do a test of that trend line that you see rising there. Still far off the high by about almost 200 pips off the high. So it still has room to move towards the top. That said, my expectations would be for it to go towards the bottom. It just hasn't, hasn't been cooperating of late. That said, if you see this sideways channel, it's pretty much at resistance right now. So if we were going to channel trade this one, I'd definitely be looking for a good short opportunity. But again, too soon to tell for the week. USD Swiss continues holding steady near the parity level, the 1=1 there at the top of the chart. We're still looking for that break towards the bottom. We had a fairly decent one in the middle of the week. We saw the pound strengthen before it ended the week up pretty much where it had started. So it's not been doing much of anything, but the good thing is it's not going any higher either. So that is a nice point of resistance. And at this point, we should be looking for that short opportunity. I'm already in a short with the USD Swiss, but if you aren't in one, keep an eye on this one. When it does give that opportunity, it's going to be probably going to be a very nice potential to write it back towards the bottom of the channel, either towards the 98, the low 98s here at the red line, or even deeper towards the 95s or further as this travels across its normal channel. Aussie dollar broke out of the downward trend line, but has failed to pierce resistance there at the 73.25 or thereabouts. It's already heading down. We did enter almost at the top. You can see that little red arrow was our entry on that short. That was after the midterm elections, if I'm not mistaken. We did enter that that trade, and we are still riding that one down. So we'll see how far it goes. Obviously, I would prefer it to do a test of the trend line again. But for now, I'll take whatever it gives so long as it keeps heading down. Kiwi dollar, same thing. It has crested. It broke away from the trend line. It has crested, moved clear out of the cloud, is heading back, and we just got triggered on an entry right before I started this call. So we are short on the Kiwi dollar on a short-term trade, and we'll see how far down it goes. So I'll be keeping an eye on both of those trades because they were meant to be short-term. I'm not going to let them go on indefinitely, only as long as they keep moving in our direction. Aussie Canadian, what can you say about the Aussie CAD? That's not been said. The CAD weakening, the Aussie gaining strength. This one did not have any significant retrace at the end of the week, but this is another pair that I think is going to give us great opportunities to trade it back towards the bottom of the chart. I don't see any sustained movement in the cards for this pair. Could be wrong, but that's my analysis for now. So I'm not going to be jumping into this one, but I am going to be keeping a close eye on it for a good short opportunity. If it does pierce the resistance, I'll go in the opposite direction. But for now, short would be my preference. Euro Swiss, very sideways pair, currently trading towards the bottom of its range. And we do see it hitting the cloud, Ichimoku cloud that's shared there, is acting as support. The Swiss obviously has not had a good couple of months. That said, it hasn't weakened a whole lot against the euro. The euro has also had its issues, which makes this a very sideways pair. I would still be looking at short entries, but I'm not dead set on that. If I see it moving in the opposite direction, I'll trade whatever I can get. Euro pound, we took some nice profit out of the euro pound in the last week or two. We've been trading it down. I think we got into 2 or 3 trades, all of them profitable with this pair. And it has made a new low before on Friday, doing a retrace, which took us out, hit our adjusted stop on the last trade we were in. Yeah, 2 trades, 1 and 2. So we captured about better than half of that movement between the 2 trades. And I would be looking for opportunities in either direction at this point. It's definitely hit support, bounced off of support, and is now trying to climb up. But until I see how the week is going to start out, I'm not going to be getting into this trade. Euro JPY, another very sideways pair, but with a wide range of movement. It currently has hit resistance and bounced off and is heading towards the bottom. We're already in this Euro JPY. We're short on the Euro JPY, and we are carrying a little bit of profit, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll continue to babysit this one throughout the week. All things considered, Euro weakening. The money from Europe should be moving into the yen. So this one seems to be a no-brainer. It should be heading down, but you still got to be careful with these and protect your trade accordingly. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. Euro Canadian, another wishy-washy pair, so I'm not going to waste too much time on it. It has been moving sideways for the better part of a month. And while we have made profit off of it in both directions, it's not the easiest to trade, and it's not been moving. If it's not trending, we really don't want to be in any long-term trades on it. We make money when we latch onto a trend. Pound JPY, another one that has been moving nicely. We actually made quite a bit of profit riding this one up until it reversed on Friday. So we made all that profit going up, and now we're waiting to see what else this one does. It is hitting support at the Ichimoku cloud. I don't think the pound is out of the woods, so this one may indeed continue to drop, in which case it's going to be giving us some fantastic opportunities to trade it down, something that we will look into in the next 24 hours. Aussie JPY, sideways pair, but very wide range. The Aussie has been gaining ground on everybody for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and it looks like that started to end on Friday. So we're already making money on that Aussie dollar short, and it's continuing to move in our favor. Likely all the Aussie pairs are doing the same thing. So another currency that I'll be keeping a close watch on to see if we get any good opportunities to make some pips. Euro New Zealand, what can I say? I should just stop and give this one a round of applause. So we wrote this one down 3 or 4 times, making money every step of the way. So we captured about half of this move. We could have gone in at the top and stayed till the bottom, but it was very bouncy. That's not clear on the daily because you only see the daily candles, but intraday, it was very choppy. So we did get taken out on trailing stops multiple times and then just kept jumping back in almost at the same price to continue making that money along the way. So what can I say? My hat's off to the Euro New Zealand. It gave us some brilliant trading opportunities as it broke this trend line at the top and rushed down to the next trend line, which is now acting as support. What it's going to do is now beyond me. This has played out on the technicals quite nicely, but now we need to see if it's going to pierce this level of support or start bouncing back up. So thank you, Euro New Zealand. You gave us probably half of my profit last week, and I'm grateful, but I'm going to be taking a breather until I see what the lay of the land is going to be looking like. And our last pair, Pound Canadian, sideways moving pair, bit of a wide range, about 500 pips. It did hit the top of its range. As you can see, it's bounced off this level multiple times. And it is giving us a nice opportunity to trade it down, if not for the fact that the Canadian is about as wishy-washy as it comes these days. So I'm not too hopeful that it's going to crash down as it usually tends to do. We'll keep an eye on it and see if we get any good opportunities. And at the same time, there are a lot of charts that seem to be ready to give us opportunities, and there's only limited capital. So you cannot take every single trade unless you want to trade very small positions, because at some point you run out of margin. So we do get picky when we have so many opportunities, and we try only to take the best ones. But we'll see how the week plays out. And I may lower the trading position size so that I can enter more trades instead of less. Too soon to tell. I'll keep you guys posted on that. That is the end of my chart for analysis. The setups in progress for the week. The U.S. midterm elections did spark fear in the market. Seems to have been short-lived. The dollar started getting stronger almost immediately. And at the end of the week, or towards the end of the week, we had that non-rate hike. So the Fed spoke. They did not move the interest rate. And they had a little bit of dovish language in their press release that had also made the USD take a breather. That said, it did finish the week out in a strength position, and it seems to be continuing as the week begins. So keeping an eye on that. The euro is looking weak across several pairs, with the New Zealand cross being the big winner this week that just ended. So we're still keeping a close eye on the euro pairs. Euro JPY is also moving nicely. So the euro is likely one of our top trading candidates for the week. The pound, as I said, started out last week strong, but was unable to keep the momentum. We're looking for insight as to where it's going to be turning this week to see whether that trend is finally breaking. If it is breaking, and we can start writing these pound pairs back to the bottom, that will make the month, that alone. The rest of it is just gravy. The Swiss pairs, they ended up the week a little bit stronger than they started, but it still has not shown strength. We still don't see the Swiss trying to travel back towards the bottom of the channel, so we're still waiting on that. And the yen pairs, the yen is starting to show life across several pairs, mainly because of world events. And of course, by that I mean all the stuff happening in Europe. Europe gets nervous, the money starts flowing into Japan. And that's what we see beginning already. So if it continues, the yen against the euro pairs, both euro, Swiss, and pound, are going to be giving us some very nice opportunities, not necessarily against the dollar. The USD JPY does not behave the same way as the European cross is against the yen. It has a life of its own, so take that under advisement. And that is it for me, other than the parting words. Persistence, we did have a couple of choppy weeks here. And successful traders know that they need to weather these downturns that are caused by events that transcend technical. We're playing a long game. You can find traders out there and they're flashes in the pan, and they'll post somewhere that they made a bazillion% this last week, and everybody suddenly thinks they're geniuses, and then the week following, their account drops to zero. You cannot use weird, crazy, ultra profitable weeks as a standard. They don't come along that often. When they do come along, obviously take advantage of them, but that cannot be your strategy as traders. You need to have systems, and you need to have something that's making money consistently over time. You can have a bad week, you can have a bad month, it doesn't matter. Look at my account a year from today, and that will tell you if my account is growing or dropping in size. That's all the measurement I need. I don't care if my week was great or if my week was terrible. It's a longer game that we're playing. That said, those crazy profitable weeks, they are a good motivator. When I started trading, I had one of these brilliant strokes of luck where I made tens of thousands of dollars in less than 2 months. Crazy stupid. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that the yen was getting stronger, and all my trades were based on the yen getting stronger. And it turns out that for that very short term, I was right, and I made out like a bandit. I don't think I've been able to quite repeat that ever since. In fact, a few weeks later after that, I lost about $20,000 in 1 week, thanks to thinking that I was invincible. And that taught me an even more valuable lesson, and actually forced me to sit down and figure out what the heck it was that I was doing and how to trade the Forex market successfully, which brings me to today. So I'm not sorry I lost the 20,000, especially since that was profit. I had already pulled out 80,000 from that brilliant flash in the pan run. So overall, I was still net profitable. However, it did make me stop and think, and it got me to where I am today. If I ever have one of these $80,000 months again, I'll be perfectly happy to take it. But that won't prove I'm a genius. That will just prove that the market was doing extremely good things during that period of time. I was just there along for the ride. Overall, if I'm making a consistent 5 to 10% a month, which is still quite ambitious, I consider myself well served. Year over year, if I'm making between 50 and 100% on my Forex accounts, I'm a perfectly happy camper. And that's it. So that's how we all start, but that's not how we need to end. You need to graduate from that belief. And are you ready for that diploma, folks? And that is going to be the end of my presentation for today. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Well, Miguel joined us at some point. Hey, Miguel.
Hello, sir.
How was your weekend, man?
Doing good so far. I held on to that GPJPY short. It triggered
Good
my,
for you.
yeah. So I'm holding some of these GBP shorts as of this moment, and yeah, I'm waiting for how the market will turn out. For sure.
It's incredible how the pound turned at the end of the week, isn't it? We wrote it all the way up. Now we're writing it down. Yeah, we'll see how that continues to play out. I'm not in the pound JPY. I'm in the pound Swiss, and it's carrying a nice chunk of profit too.
Yep, I heard. I was there during your thing.
Oh, goody. All righty. Anybody have anything else? Okay, then please commemorate Veterans Day. Say thank you to a veteran. Buy them lunch if you find one. We do owe our freedoms and all that our freedoms allow to our armed forces. I've always said that. So love a veteran if you can. And I will be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Callum, of course, will be with you at 3 in the morning Eastern Time tonight, overnight, for the London Open. And we hope to see you on both sessions. Thank you very much and take good care.